I got the segue.
Go ahead, give it to me.
If there was anything that Hugh loved, it was half naked people. And speaking of that, we have the main event: Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman.
Well, this was the match that's a great segue. This was the
Thank you.
match that sent one Dave Meltzer into just a depression. It seemed. It was a
Oh,
big disappointment. Dave was disappointed, and many others were disappointed in the main event. I was disappointed to the extent that I don't understand why you wouldn't have Braun Strowman. As Aaron said, for weeks on end, he pulled the trigger, man. The time is now. The iron is
yeah.
hot. Strike. But it didn't happen that way, and I'm curious to hear what you guys. What was your appraisal of the main event?
For me, the longer the build up happened, the more I realized that Strowman wasn't winning that title. I think had SummerSlam had the match at SummerSlam not been what it was, I think they could have got away with that main event. But because the match at SummerSlam was so damn good and they did so much, you expected a whole lot more out of that match than what you got. I mean, they didn't really fight on the outside. They didn't. Nobody went through a table. You know, you were expecting that kind of stuff. You were expecting a big time heavyweight fight,
Mhm.
and you got a really good Raw main event, and it was really disappointing. As far as the outcome of the match, look, it was a fait accompli about 2 weeks ago for me. I was like, well, it ain't gonna happen. Would I like to see Strowman with that title? Absolutely. But I don't think it's in the cards because I think they're still going to go back to Reigns and Lesnar at Mania. From what I understand, that's still the plans for
Mhm.
some reason.
Yeah. I agree with most of that. I do not want to see Braun Strowman with the title. He looks like an inbred. I don't know, like a guy that eats crayons. Just like looking at him in the face and everything. Um, I think he's a little too unkempt. And which is a kind of a weird thing to say about a wrestler. It's like I don't like him because he's unkempt. But I mean, your beard. There's like a difference between looking savage and looking stupid. You can like Bray Wyatt's beard is awesome, right? Eric Rowan, not so much. Braun Strowman, also not so much. Um, but I actually did think that Strowman was going to win the title. Um, I had that feeling, and then well, a couple things I want to cover. Number one, there's no way. A lot of people are saying that it was anticlimactic, and I'll agree with that. But the only way this match wouldn't have been anticlimactic is if um, any scenario where Brock Lesnar won the match and retained the title, it would have been anticlimactic. So that was pretty much unavoidable as long as they're going to keep the strap off of Braun Strowman. The other thing, it reminded me a lot of uh, the build up for Samoa Joe.
Yes.
Yeah, Samoa Joe started by making Paul Heyman tap out, and then they had that brawl on Raw, and then the match was over in like maybe 10 minutes, something like
It
that.
wasn't long. It was like 8 to 10 minutes, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, and it was um, the majority of it was Samoa Joe, but he still didn't look good because he still got all the suplexes, and Brock got all the suplexes and then destroyed him with one F5.
Yeah, it was almost like a rinse and repeat of the build up to Samoa Joe.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I think that's why, like 2 weeks before it happened, I was because after SummerSlam, I was like, "Well, damn, they might put it on Strowman." But then once you see how everything goes, it's like, "Nope, I was wrong."
yeah.
Um, but yeah, we're talking about his beard. You know who he kind of reminds me of, and Will, you might be able to back me up. But doesn't he seem like he would have been like if this was the territory days, Strowman would have been somebody like Gary Hart would have managed?
Oh yeah, I would think so. I'll tell you now. Might get me run out of podcasting land, and if I say this the wrong way, but watching Strowman, not so much in the match, with Lesnar, but watching how he behaved the next night on Raw when he came out, or the next night when he came out to begin the beating of Enzo, the ceremonial weekly beating of Enzo Amore. But he, when he came out and he first got in, the way he moves and the way he gestures, and also not just ripping his shirt off, but like the way he does his hands, it reminds me, not in terms of physique and definitely not in terms of being over, but just the way he kind of is starting to work the crowd. He's reminding me of Hulk Hogan, like in his mannerisms. I mean, and that's where it ends. I'm not saying he's the next red and yellow hero of all children everywhere, but just the way he he's very demonstrative with where he points and when he reacts. You could tell the guy watched wrestling. But yeah, Aaron, I would say I could see him being like a missing link type character in the old territory days, and would have been over like $1 million with the right manager.
You're right, though. He is kind of doing that because he is acting like a 1980s wrestler sometimes. Yeah. Maybe that helps him. Obviously, it does.
Your who he reminds you of, it kind of took a turn at the last second. I thought you were going to go with Eugene. Like I totally thought that's what you were going to say.
It could have been.
It was Eugene, or maybe Dave Hogan, or Dave Sullivan.
Evad Navalis.
Dave Sullivan.
Evad.
Yes, indeed. Well, Aaron always likes to give. I'm bad at grading these things overall, but Aaron, what was your grade for No Mercy this go round?
Oh, it was like a warm bath. I would say probably a C-. I mean, it's kind of like it wasn't great, but it wasn't all-time terrible.
So,
trust me, I've seen worse.
Aaron gives it the in-flight movie grade. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I would say the same. C, just because they had some big matches on the card that didn't deliver.
Yeah, well, to quote "Oh Brother Art," though, I'm with you, fellas. So.